This week, we talk about some possible iOS changes, some real iOS security flaws, and that PlayStation 5 controller. As we, together, as a people, take it out. And welcome to another sensational Saturday. This is Mike, and this is Mike Texted Out, the #1 news show on my channel. That's right, those are facts, cannot be disputed, and we are here to talk about the wonderful, wonderful tech news, which still exists. It barely exists, but it exists. So let's go ahead and hop right into our first story, and we got Apple right at the forefront as we talk about some security flaws that you may or may not be aware of. So Apple recently patched a security flaw with Safari that would allow a hacker to basically listen in on your conversations. So the way that it worked is, if you clicked on a malicious link in Safari, whether it was on macOS or iOS, it would basically trick the browser into thinking that you already allowed it permission to access the webcam and the microphone, and then it would just have full access to your webcam and microphone on your iPhone or on your MacBook. So Apple recently patched this, so if you are, an Apple user, make sure that you're up to date with the latest updates so you don't run into this issue and have people spying on you in your house while you're working from home, doing whatever, making salad, making pizza, whatever quarantine people do. You don't want people spying on that. Make sure you get that patched up. Patch that up, B. Alright? But what you could be doing at home, and that's trying Stadia for free for 2 months. Stadia Pro, that is, as Google announced that they're going to be doing free trials of Stadia Pro for 2 months. Now, I might have to hop all over this because I've been curious about it, especially after trying the GeForce experience. So I might have to go ahead and have a look at it and see what that experience be like, what we living like with the Stadia. So I'm going to hop on it. It's worth trying, in my opinion. If it's going to be free for 2 months, just make sure you cancel on time, because personally, I definitely won't be keeping it, even if it wows me. I don't travel that much where I would need a service like that. I want to pay for it. And then also, you have to buy all the games up there, separate. But I believe you may get Destiny 2 for free as part of the Pro membership. So at least you can try Destiny 2 up there to see how that works. But Stadia is something that's piqued my interest since it was first announced. And they fumbled it so far. I'm not going to lie. They fumbled it. Like, if there was a chance that they, could steer it in the right direction, they took it in the opposite direction of that so far since its launch. So this is a chance for them to get people in there to try it, to drum up more interest, especially right now where people are kind of stuck home. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it a fair shake, and we'll see how it shakes out. Speaking of shaking out, don't you wish on iOS that you could just shake out those widgets from that one row and just put them wherever you want to? Well, that may be coming in iOS 14, or so says this rumor. So it was revealed that there's a good chance that you may finally be able to do something with the widgets in iOS, which would be great because I actually like using widgets, and it kind of sucks to have to go to that one particular screen to access all the widgets. And then after a certain point, if they're far enough down, I just don't use them anymore because they're so inconvenient. So it'd be nice to take some frequently used ones and at least move them on my main home screen. So this would be awesome if this does come to iOS. Obviously, Android people have had this for like a millennium. So you're sitting there laughing at us. Stop laughing at us, okay? We're sensitive, hurting our feelings. We deserve widgets in other places too. Just because we're a little bit late, like 30 years, doesn't mean you have to make fun of us. We're sensitive people. We're sensitive over here on iOS. Stop it. Stop it. Bad people. Yeah. And in our final story, we're going to talk about Sony's breakthrough. So Sony recently revealed a vehicle that's capable of intergalactic travel. We, as a society, it's always been our dream to go to these far-off planets like Jupiter, Mars, Saturn. Now Sony is finally making it possible with this intergalactic vehicle of travel, also known as a spaceship. Sony, their engineering team, has done an outstanding... Oh, wait. Hold on. A controller? Is this a controller? This is a controller. It's a controller. It's for the PS5. Oh. That's... My bad. It's actually a controller. My bad. It's not a spaceship. It's not a space... My bad, y'all. I want to make sure I'm bringing y'all accurate news. It's a controller. It's a controller. Sony revealed the PlayStation 5 controller. Alright, so all joking aside, Sony did reveal the PlayStation 5 controller this week, and they gave a lot of details about it. So obviously we see how it looks. Personally, outside of the joking, I really do like the way that it looks. I like the two-tone. It has a more futuristic look. It kind of reminds me of something that would be like in Mass Effect. They changed the light bar again, so they moved it to the sides of the touch, well, I'm going to assume it's probably the touchpad area. They got rid of the share button. They're replacing it with the create button, which essentially is probably going to do the same thing, but they're probably going to add a few more things to it, I'm guessing. From what they said in their blog, it's like, oh, the share button's gone, but we added create because you're creators now. I'm like, yeah, we are. We're creators. Thank you, Sony, for letting us create. Of course, it's going to charge via USB-C, which will hopefully bring us faster charging times. And I'm really hoping that they get a bigger battery in this controller. It looks like the controller is going to be bigger than the DualShock 4. And speaking of that, they're changing the name. It's going to be the DualSense, because it's not about, just playing with the controller. It's about it engaging with your senses. The PlayStation 5, with its 3D audio and ray tracing, is a sensory experience. This controller ties into that experience. It's core to the experience, okay? It's core to it. DualSense. It's going to activate two senses at the same time. You should always be doing two things at the same time. How long have I said that? No one listened. Now Sony's backing me up. Alright? DualSense. Another thing that's unique about the controller, it is going to have a microphone array for a chat. So theoretically, you can use this instead of a gaming headset to chat with people. I'm wondering how the audio is going to sound. They've gotten really good with like laptop audio recently and making phone audio work with tiny microphones. So I could see this possibly being a decent solution. But the only issue is usually when you're talking on the phone or, using a laptop, the device is more stationary than a controller would probably be. So I don't know how that's going to work as far as like if you're gaming and you're moving the controller around, picking up your voice. But it's still interesting. The other thing is it's going to use haptics instead of, like a rumble. So the other thing is it's going to use haptics instead of a rumble motor. So they talked this up. It's basically the same thing that the Switch does and a lot of phones do now, where it has a haptic feedback engine. So it's less of a vibration and you can control the amount of force. To me personally, I don't really notice that much of a difference. Like it's not a game changer for me from what I've experienced on the Switch, but I am curious to see Sony's implementation of it. And the other thing is the triggers are going to be basically force feedback, so they can adjust the feedback of the triggers. Like the example they gave, like if you're, pulling a bow in the game, they can make the trigger harder to pull. So it sounds really cool. It sounds like their controller tech is going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more on the PlayStation 5 in general in the next coming months, like, how the system's going to look. Sony's been really laid back during this whole console cycle, whereas Microsoft has been aggressive. They've just been out there giving you everything. Like, bam, here's the system, here's the front, back, side to side, controller, everything. Here's the password, log into our account. Here's the files, the blueprints, the blueprint 1, the blueprint 2, the gift and the curse, the blueprint 3. They give you all of it. All the Jay-Z albums for free. That's what Microsoft's doing. So Sony has just been like slowly leaking it out. And at the end of this year, provided everything goes the way it's supposed to, they're going to be going head to head, and we're going to see how this thing shakes out. But that's going to be a while. So until then, I'm going to go ahead and bring this video to a conclusion. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.